the Prime Minister's off to a series of international summits next week, and there seem to be quite strong indications that there could finally be a meeting between the Australian Prime Minister and the Chinese President. How significant is this? Well, if this happens, how significant is this politically?
Look, I think it is significant politically. That there was this language from the China Daily today talking about how China wanted to really get the relationship back on a good footing. I think it would be a really good sign if all of the sort of unpleasantness of the last few years sort of looked like it was being addressed. Penny Wong's been doing a lot of quiet diplomacy in the region and resetting, so I think it would be quite a significant win for Prime Minister Albanese when he goes to the G20 in Bali.
We'll wait and see. Laura, good to talk to you as always.
Thanks, Sarah.
And this is a message to the victims of recent online hacks. If you've been affected and are willing to share your story, please get in touch with us at the address on your screen. That's 7.30@abc.net.au. Regional neighbours are still digesting Australia's decision to develop nuclear-powered submarines. A recent conference of some of our leading naval experts offered fresh insights into how Australian officials are working to convince the world we can be trusted with nuclear propulsion. James Elton reports.
Every 2 years, some of Australia's leading thinkers in undersea warfare gather in Canberra, a mix of Navy officers, defence officials and industry reps.
It has been an incredibly busy year for the submarine force.
But something big has changed since the last conference, and there are some new faces here.
We've been running submarine conferences for 20 years and we've never had anyone from a non-proliferation background, but I reckon we will have from now on. So,
Our first major initiative, it is, as we have announced today, for Australia to achieve a nuclear-powered submarine fleet.
It's just over a year since Australia announced it wanted to join one of the world's most exclusive clubs.
This is a very special arrangement and a very important one for Australia.
Only 6 nations have operated nuclear-powered submarines. As well as Australia's partners, the US and UK, they are France, Russia, China and India. All these also possess nuclear weapons.
Beijing said the pact was extremely irresponsible.
While Australian submarines will not carry nuclear weapons, their reactors will run on weapons-grade highly enriched uranium. Since that announcement, Australia has been reassuring the world that our commitment to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty is rock solid and that a thorough inspection and verification regime is being worked out.
We have an impeccable record when it comes to compliance for the NPT, and we are working through and will work through with the IAEA to ensure that that record stands with full transparency.
how are you?
The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, visited Australia in July. In a report on AUKUS in September, he wrote the agency was satisfied with the level of engagement, noting that technical consultations will continue for the foreseeable future. The deal is particularly sensitive in our own region. Malaysia and Indonesia expressed deep concern over an arms race in Southeast Asia.
It is important that we listen to concerns, that we respond to them respectfully.
We had a very candid discussion on AUKUS just now, and I thank the Foreign Minister for explaining the current government's position, and Malaysia's position remained the same.
Malaysia is very invested in a nuclear-free zone in Southeast Asia. If Australia requires nuclear-propelled submarines, what is going to prevent South Korea and Japan from also acquiring nuclear-powered submarines, because they also are allies of the United States? And if we have that expansion of nuclear-powered vessels within the region, which other regional countries are going to feel compelled to acquire nuclear-powered submarines as well?
Some countries may publicly question Australia acquiring nuclear submarines. I think actually they're quite supportive of Australia having this capability, again because it serves as a very useful balance to China's ambitions and China's coercive behaviours.
We are in fact committed to setting a strong positive precedent.
Australia's Ambassador for Arms Control, Ian Biggs, has been extremely busy.
In 2022, I've already completed 32 international visits, engagements to try and get this on track.
His key message that Australia will not enrich its own uranium or manufacture fuel.
And it is proposed that Australia will receive complete welded closed reactor power units from either the United States or the United Kingdom. The power units are designed so that the removal of any nuclear material would be extremely difficult and dangerous, I should say, and render the power unit and submarine inoperable.
The promise that our nuclear reactors will come welded shut from the US or UK is one of the unique features of the AUKUS deal.
Next generation nuclear powered submarines will use reactors that do not need refuelling during the life of the boat.
Even with a reactor that never needs to be refuelled, building an industry that can guarantee the safety of the AUKUS submarines will be one of the greatest challenges.
One of the things about both the US and the UK's nuclear submarine programs, they have not had a single accident. We're moving to a situation where we're going to have nuclear reactors in Australian harbours. If we have an accident, it will reflect very badly on the US and UK programs, and that could result in them turning the technology off. So they have to be absolutely convinced that our safety practices, our safety mentality is just as rigorous as theirs.
We haven't got the engineering skills at this point. We don't have the nuclear propulsion training skills at this point. We're very, very dependent on the Americans and the British for that. We've got to think all this through really, really carefully and work out whether the benefits of the massive costs that this is going to impose on the Australian budget are actually worth the investment.